Yeah, so now we start, and all of you can go on mute. And then once you have questions, please go and ask me. So, what I want to do today, what we want to actually do today is we want to actually start with our introduction session. Introduction. Okay. In the introduction session, I like to actually talk about how to do the recordings, how to edit the recordings, how to uh, work with the range commands, how to select the sheet, how to select the data, which approach should you use, dynamic or static, what are the benefits of dynamic approach, static approach. We will also like to go and create a very simple one project where we will go and compile the data from the different sheets. Now, can you imagine just a first session and you will start making projects? Yes, we will we will do that. With a little bit of knowledge of VBA, we can go and compile the data from different sheets and put that into one sheet. Yes, we can do that if our fundamentals are very strong, if you know what you're doing actually. So first thing is that what is a VBA and why we need VBA, right? Why we need VBA? What is the scope of a VBA, right? Now, VBA actually is a language which we know as a Visual Basic for application. Okay, so don't get confused this language with VB, okay, or VB.NET. That's a different language, or maybe VB script. Okay, if you know this, if you have heard these words, that's I'm going to tell you now. These are very different. If you haven't heard about this, still you should know it, because in your interview, if somebody asks you that apart from VBA, do you know VB also, then you should not be looking like a blank face. Okay, so what is saying? VB is another language, right? Now it is known as VB.NET. In 90s, Microsoft developed this language, and from this language, actually, they got the idea that why not to put a language, why not to create a separate language for Excel, and then they given it the name called VBA, right? We will never talk about this. This is the very first thing you should know, right? So if somebody is talking to you over the phone and they are saying, do you know VB? And you considering that, they're talking about the VBA, you're giving them the answer, yes, you might be in trouble then, right? So this is a very different concept. Okay, once you're done with your VBA, you can always go back and the Google about this VB. Why? Because this is also very interesting language, VB.NET. It's not written on Excel, it has a different tool, right? Like every language has a different tool, right? We call it IDE. We call it IDE because you see, if you have to write a language, if you let's say for example, you talk about VB.NET, you talk about ASP.NET, which is used for the web, websites for the web developments, right? And then there's for the web developments we have the PHP also, right? PHP is also there. VB is actually for the software developments, right? Software development language we use for that. Now, when we talk about the languages, the Python is the very famous language, right? Very famous language. Python, again, all these languages, they have different purposes. I'm not going to talk about that, but they all use a different IDs. IDs means basically a platform where you go and write the programs because you need a place, you need a place to write. If I give you pencil and I say that, write on something, where will you write it? Where will you express you know your thoughts? Let's say I'm saying that, you know how did your actually school days went? We would like to listen your experience. How can you write those things if I don't give you any paper or maybe any sort of canvas? I don't know, but you need a platform, isn't it? That's called the IDE in layman terms, integrated development environment. Integrated. Every programming language which we learn Definitely, there is a system. There is something they give you, a kind of, you can say, a kind of, what do you call, uh, a place, not exactly paper, but a kind of a board, whiteboard, where you start writing the things, right? Same way we have, for example, for VBA, we have a ID called Excel. Now, when we talk about the ID, generally we don't use this term for VBA, but you can use it. Why not? Because whatever the program I'm going to create, whatever the program we are going to create, we will go and write here, somewhere here in the background of this Excel. Generally, for other languages, you have to install the software. There is a specific software, and there are multiple softwares. Like for example, for Python, even if you do not know this, just it should always a kind of a good thing to know a little bit about the other languages, also how actually the programming world actually functions, right? Python uses a lot of IDs, right? Like Python uses PyCharm. PyCharm is a, you can say, a application which you have to install, right? Or maybe you can say software, right? Where you go and write the programs. Then PyCharm, then there is a Spider, then there is a uh, uh, this idle as well, which is actually Python by default. Uh, you can say a kind of the window where you write the programs, right? Python can be written in many different softwares, right? VB.NET, this also uses a tool which you can download it, right? This also uses the tool. ASP.NET also uses a tool. PHP also. PHP can also be written in the text notepads. Initially people can write this in the notepads, but then there are specific, more different kind of, more actually helpful, the softwares which helps you in writing the code easily. So different softwares for one language, right? But when we talk about the VBA, VBA always written inside the Excel. Now here also there is a twist. If you do not know, when I say VBA, generally people assume by default Excel VBA. No, it is not like that. It says Visual Basic for application. Do you know in Excel, even MS Word has its own VBA. Outlook also has its own VBA. Yes, you can write the VBA there. VBA is not a private property of Excel, right? So all these applications, even the PowerPoint, it also has its own VBA, right? So all these are very different. People go for two languages, Excel VB and Access VB. Why? Why they choose these languages the most? Because of their ability to do the any type of analysis on the data, any type of analysis. They can make the graphs, they can automate everything, they can automate the functions, we can work with the data if we know Excel VB or Access VB. Access VB is basically a database, not an application on this. And the best part is that using Excel VB, I'll talk about Excel VB only. We can control Outlook, we can control MS Word, we can control PowerPoint, we can make the PowerPoint slides, we can send the emails, we can customize the email body structure, what you have to write in the email. You can change the sender names, to whom you are sending the emails. When you want to send the emails, to retrieve the information, to extract the information from any of the folder where you have thousands of emails and you're looking for one sender, that this sender has sent me how many emails so far with what subject line on which date, everything we can go and control using Excel VBA. That's why these VBAs are generally, you won't find people are going to learn this because they are different. These tools are not meant to do any sort of analysis. It just, MS Word is just a document. Outlook, it helps you in connecting with other people through emails. And PowerPoint, as you know, it's simply to create the slides, presentations, right? So from Excel VBA, we can even create the presentations by default. You can, where you are spending 1 hour, 2 hour in creating the slides, pasting the 50, 60, 70, 80 graphs on PowerPoint from Excel. You can create a program and that program can do this job for you. Hardly takes 15 seconds. When the right time comes, we will definitely go and talk about these extremely very super advanced topics. So by now, you have got the idea that what I'm learning and how it is different from some other confusing things like VB.NET or VB script. Absolutely different things. Okay. You need not to go and learn, go and do any kind of a Google search on that, because right now your focus should be on VBA. Once you become a, that once you have a that sort of knowledge where you can create everything in VBA dashboards, any type of automations, then yes, then go and search on that, because then that will make sense. You will be able to find out the differences between this language. And as I said that VB was developed in 90s, and from there, Microsoft got the idea of creating a VBA for Excel. The most benefit part of this, why I'm telling you, there is a reason, of course, not, sounding like an illiterate. If somebody calls and say that we need a guy who know VB, and then you raise your hand, yes, I can, because I know VBA, no. So that, of course, we should know that difference. But also, the another thing which I haven't told you, what is the benefit? If you know VBA very well, right? When you find yourself at that developer level stage, the moment you start learning VB.NET, because now VB is old, it has gone through a lot of versions, right? Every 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, like how Excel improves, right? Every 3 year, 4 year, we have a new Excel version. So now VB.NET is the one, right? VB was in the initial years, 90s. So when you start learning VB.NET, why are you going to learn it? Well, maybe because you want to create a software outside the Excel environment. So there you'll find the syntaxes are very same. Looping, variables concept, user forms. Almost everything you find in VB.NET similar to VBA. And you may not need any tutor for that. That's the best part. Otherwise, all languages are quite different from each other. They have a different syntaxes, but specifically about VBA and VB.NET, you find that it's very same, right? So this is how it is. So now we know that every Microsoft application like Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Access, they have their own VBA, and Excel same way. We have a VBA, and we are going to start the Excel VBA. Now to automate my every work in Excel, whether it is about data copy paste, which we call at in a broader way, or broader term, I can say data compiling, you can do it using VBA. As I said that you can send the emails, you can make the PPTs, right? You can create the document, the Word documents also, right? So we can do everything in VBA. You can create the functions also, like for example, you can create the VLOOKUP functions, right? Now you say that, okay, that's why will I create a code for that? I have Excel, I know VLOOKUP very well. So what if I give you that you have to create a VLOOKUP function in 100 Excel workbooks, then what will you do? Isn't it? You won't be able to do it manually, but through VBA you can do it, right? So we can work with the folders and the files inside that. We can do everything, guys, everything. Okay, whatever you are doing so far in Excel front part, you can just say to anyone that if this is possible in the front part, I can go and do it in, I can go and convert this all the manual front part into automation for you. Of course, we can. So to automate every task, we need the VBA, right? And it can do almost every type of a work.